This week, the Vatican loses a prolific musician. St. Peter's relics will be available for veneration, and the Pope steps out to visit the Italian president. Hello and welcome to Vatican Connections once again. Pope Francis has donated $150,000 to Typhoon Haiyan relief efforts. He made the donation through Cor Unum, the church's charity arm. In a press release, Cor Unum said this was an initial contribution. The money will be given to local churches in areas most in need of help. It will be earmarked to help those who have lost their homes in the typhoon. Caritas Philippines is already on the ground coordinating food and shelter. The United Nations has also stepped in to help distribute aid. In sad news, Cardinal Bertolucci died this week at the age of 96. Cardinal Bertolucci was the director of the Sistine Chapel Choir and a prolific composer. His funeral was celebrated at the Vatican on Wednesday by Cardinal Angelo Sodano, and Pope Francis himself gave the final commendation. Switching gears a little bit, the Vatican is about to do something that has never been done. For the first time ever, the bones believed to be the earthly remains of Peter will be put on display for veneration. This will happen November 24th, which is also the closing of the Year of Faith. The Council for the New Evangelization is promoting the event. Archbishop Rino Fisichella, the head of the Council for the New Evangelization, said millions of people mark the Year of Faith by making pilgrimage to the tomb of Peter, and this display of his remains will be the culminating sign of that year. Now, no pope has ever declared that these are without a doubt Peter's bones, but after scientific tests in the 50s and 60s, Pope Paul VI said that the relics of St. Peter had been identified in a way that was convincing. Cardinal Tarcisio Bertone, the former Vatican Secretary of State, has written a book called Papal Diplomacy in a Globalized World. The book was officially launched at a press conference at the Vatican on Tuesday. Hans Pottering, the former president of the European Parliament, spoke at the book launch. He noted that Cardinal Bertone is a staunch supporter of European unification. So far, the book is only available in Italian. Another recently released book looks at the relationship between Catholic social teaching and the social sciences that try to implement it. Catholic News Service spoke to the author.
The most important is culture, that economy and politics is a product of culture. Because if we say globalization or capitalism or socialism or democracy, there are very different meanings. So, for example, democracy in Belarus, or democracy in Poland, or democracy in Germany. Three countries quite close, only the one border, but there are three different democracies. Well, we have to define the words. John Paul II, as a professional philosopher, he defines the word. If we think about free economy, it's a base, it's okay. But obviously not unlimited free economy. It means that states or politicians have a right to limit abuses. So if one believes that free economy regulates itself, it's error, it's naive and it's dangerous. But if one thinks that through central planning and state intervention we create just system, it's also dangerous, which we have seen in our part of the world. We can't, as a people, redeem the world. Jesus redeemed the world. We have to remember that we can't create a kingdom of God here in heaven. It's a dangerous illusion, what was stressed many times by popes. But to make this, to feel solidarity with all, and to make this world better and better, is a very important challenge for every Christian, for all of us. Popes gives vision, but so it's not a science, Catholic social science, it's Catholic social thought or teachings, so which give horizons. But then, for example, Christian professors or Christians, member of NGOs, or concrete priests, or people who are engaged in Catholic social sciences thinks about concrete realizations. That it's not only wishful thinking, not only a pure vision, but you have a vision, then use instrument of all the sciences as economy, politics, demography, philosophy of economy, and so on, and think how to apply it, how to have concrete solution to make the world better.
Finally, it's been a source of much speculation and even some misinformation, but we learned this week that the new Secretary of State, Archbishop Pietro Parolin, will take up his post next Saturday. He has officially been Secretary of State since October 15th, but had to undergo emergency surgery and has been at his family's home recovering. Cardinal Bertone, the Emeritus Secretary of State, made the announcement during a press conference launching his new book. Did you know? The present-day Quirinale Palace was built in 1583 by Pope Gregory XIII as a papal summer residence. It was the location for 4 papal conclaves. Today, it is the official residence of the President of Italy. The Vatican has many councils and congregations that we hear about on a regular basis, but not many people know that the Vatican also has several academies. Among them is the Pontifical Academy for Science. Last week, the Academy for Science held a workshop called Bread and Brain, the Effect of Poverty on Education. I spoke to Dr. Antonio Batro, who is a member of the Academy and helped organize the workshop. Dr. Batro, first, tell us about the work of the Academy.
Yes, the Pontifical Academy of Sciences is really the first academy of sciences in the world. It was founded in the 1603, and one of its first members was Galileo Galilei. Therefore, and many of the works of Galileo Galilei were printed by the Academy. Mm-hmm. And then after many decades, and the things changed a bit, mm-hmm. and science became more universal. And in the last century, Pius XI mm-hmm. decided to give a full international scope to the Academy in the year 36. And we are inside the Vatican in one of the most beautiful palaces called the Casina Pio Quarto, where we meet very frequently. And we are now about 80 academicians mm-hmm. of many disciplines.
So turning our attention to the workshop you helped organize, Bread and Brain, what was the result of that workshop? You said that there were 2 sides you looked at. What were the conclusions that came out of that?
This is the one I organized with mm-hmm. Professor Ingo Potricus, who's a well-known mm-hmm. biologist and genetician. We have discussed about the early ages education. The first years of life are essential. Then we must produce changes here in preschool education too. Mm-hmm. And of course, we can use any kind of technology we are using now, but in a very broad basis. Mm-hmm. On the other side, on the side of food or nutrition, this is what is called a hidden hunger. Hidden hunger is that you can perhaps have enough calories, but you lack macronutrients in the same food with new methods.
Now, you were asked to organize this workshop because this is the area you study. Can you tell us about your own work when you're not organizing workshops for the Academy?
I am a medical doctor who worked many years with the disabled, with the help of computers that are so important. Now I'm working in a foundation called the One Laptop Per Child Foundation that is reaching millions of children, giving them the possibility of having a network, a computer at home or a tablet, and connectivity. And this is making great changes in many poor places where no libraries are there, no books, even no electricity, but we can charge our systems with solar panels, etc. It's a very new way of doing research also, because we have now a very large environment, a digital environment for teachers and students. This is my work, and of course we are introducing also many kind of experiments of sensors, even telescopes and all kind of motors. And the machine is, even a tiny machine can be a good laboratory at home, not only in the school.
Thank you, Dr. Batro. That was Dr. Antonio Batro of the Pontifical Academy for Science telling us about the workshop that he helped organize. For more information about how to follow the Pontifical Academy for Science, visit our blog. And it's time for the Renuncia in Nomine, where we find out who has a new job this week. Plymouth, England has a new bishop. Father Mark O'Toole has been the rector of Allen Hall Seminary. He will become Bishop of Plymouth. He takes over from Bishop Hugh Budd, who resigned after reaching the mandatory retirement age. There are some new members of the Pontifical Academy of Science. They do get appointed by the Pope. Professor Shinya Yamakana joins the Academy. He is the director of Kyoto's Center for Cell Research and Application. Essentially, he works on finding ways to use stomach cells as an alternative to embryonic stem cells. Professor Juan Martin Maldacena also joins the Academy. He is an expert in quantum gravity and string theory. And Professor Stefano Zamagni joins the Pontifical Academy for Social Sciences. He is a professor of economics at the University of Bologna and an adjunct professor at Johns Hopkins University. Finally, Pope Francis has accepted the resignation of Bishop David Walker of Broken Bay, Australia. Bishop Walker has reached the mandatory retirement age, and the diocese now awaits for a new bishop to be appointed. Finally, it's time to flip through Pope Francis's daytimer to find out where he's been. Last weekend, Pope Francis met with members of an Italian group that accompanies sick and elderly people on pilgrimage to Lourdes. The group is known by their Italian acronym, Unitalsi. Pope Francis told them, "You have a place, a very specific role in the parish and in every sphere of the church." He encouraged them to never be ashamed of being such a priceless treasure for the church. He said, "May every sick and fragile person see the face of Jesus in your face, and may you recognize the body of Christ in them." On Wednesday, Pope Francis gave the final commendation at the funeral for Cardinal Domenico Bertolucci. As we mentioned, Cardinal Angelo Sodano celebrated the funeral for the 96-year-old musical composer, and Pope Francis arrived at the end. Wednesday was also the general audience, and Catholic News Service has highlights of that.
Chi di voi si ricorda la data del suo battesimo? Vabbè, alzi la mano, chi di voi? Sono pochi, Non tanti. E non domando ai vescovi per non passare vergogna, ma sono pochi, Ma facciamo una cosa. Oggi, quando tornate a casa, domandate: in quale giorno io sono stato battezzato? Cercate. E questo è il secondo compleanno. Il primo compleanno sarà il compleanno alla vita. E questo è il compleanno alla Chiesa, è il giorno della nascita alla Chiesa. Farete questo? È un compito per fare a casa. Cercare il giorno nel quale io sono nato e ringraziare il Signore perché ci ha aperto la porta alla sua Chiesa quel giorno nel quale io ho ricevuto il battesimo.
On Thursday, Pope Francis met with Italian head of state Giorgio Napolitano at the Quirinale Palace. This was to return the visit that President Napolitano made to the Vatican just after Pope Francis's inauguration. President Napolitano recalled the Pope's Italian roots, and he outlined the history of the relationship between the Church and the state. He said it is clear Pope Francis's message and the Church's message is directed to all people of goodwill. For the first time, believers and non-believers are being called into dialogue, and he told the Pope that Italy, unfortunately, is far from that culture of encounter that Pope Francis speaks of. In his own speech, Pope Francis referred to the Quirinale Palace as the home of every Italian, and he said he wished he could knock on every Italian's door to get to know the land of his roots. He also recalled key points in church-state relations and promised the prayers of all Italians so that the president might have the creativity needed to find the solutions to promote the common good of every person. Now, it's interesting to note Pope Francis went to the Quirinale in a blue Ford Focus. The papal motorcade drove through normal Roman traffic, no roadblocks, much to the surprise of tourists and other drivers. He also greeted the staff of the presidential palace and their families. Vatican Connections is interactive. Send us your questions or comments by Facebook, Twitter, email, or post. Via email, send comments to info@saltandlighttv.org. And by post, send letters to 114 Richmond Street East, Toronto, Ontario, M5C 1P1, Canada. Well, that's all for Vatican Connections this week. Thank you for joining us, and of course, tune in next time. We're going to leave you now with a clip of the late Cardinal Bertolucci directing the Sistine Chapel Choir.